Here we are. But he said, ye rather, blessed are they that hear the word of God and keep it. Thank you all. You may be seated. We're going to emphasize and keep it. And so there's this thing that they teach in math, is we learn in a basic math. It's called greatest common factors, which is the highest number that divides exactly into two numbers. Simply put, there are qualities that connect two different numbers. And there's the same things in the spiritual. There are some factors that connect us to Christ. There's factors that connect us to spiritually mature saints. And so I'm going to take a moment to preach on great common factors or principles, So great common factors in math is normally abbreviated GCF. Guys, you guys know I like abbreviations. So we'll use that. GCF, grace, correction, and faith. We need to understand these principles. So starting off with grace, your sin does not surprise God. That's why he went to the cross. He's not surprised. He's not caught off guard when you make a mistake. Hebrews 4:15 says that we have not a high priest which cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace and find grace to help in a time of need. Jesus was tempted at all points, and when we're struggling and battling, we're going through hard times, the thing that we need to do is seek for the grace of God. Look, condemnation oftentimes come in, and it tries to push us away from God, but that's the only thing that can help us be free from sin, help us to get the power and authority over sin. And it's, crazy as this is, the only place that we can get grace is at his throne. So we have to, the writer of Hebrews encourages us to boldly go before the throne because there's grace there for us. And so boldly go before the throne. Yes, you made a mistake. He knows. He already knows. So, you come into there, you're not shocking him. So let's just go ahead and do it. And, he was tempted at all points. So he knows that the struggle is real. So he can identify with you. However, grace is not a license to sin, but rather it's the power to change. If you look at Titus chapter 2, it says that it talks about the grace of God, but then going to verse 12, teaching us, this is grace that is denying ungodliness and worldly lust, and that we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world. So grace is a teacher not to do these things. So grace, it'll give you a second chance, but it also teaches you how to live righteously. So that's grace. So G. Now we're going on to correction. Hebrews chapter 12. It says in verse 6 and 7, for whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If he endure chastening, God deal with you as sons. We need to get an understanding of being corrected, whether it's from God or from the man of God or from our parents. Correction doesn't mean that they hate you all of a sudden, because no surprise, we're all flawed. So that means we're going to make mistakes. So it doesn't catch anyone by surprise. So we need to understand that when we are corrected, that's expressing love to us. And so, to be a mature saint, we need to understand the purpose of correction. If you go down to verse 11, I thought this was really cool. Now, no chastening for the present seems to be joyous. The Bible is on to something. Being corrected is not comfortable, but in fact, it's grievous. Nevertheless, afterward, it yieldeth peaceable fruit of righteousness. There we go. Unto them which are exercised thereby. Which means you got to receive the correction. It's not enough just to get corrected all the time. That's not good. We need to receive the correction and the counsel that, that we get from God, we get from our pastor, from our parents. We need not just be hearers, but doers also. And the last portion I want to talk about is faith. Hebrews 11:1 says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Faith can affect your emotions, and that's, there's nothing wrong with that, but I don't believe that was its sole intended purpose. I think faith, rather, was intended to govern our actions. So that when you're going through a hard time, when the emotions rise up, you're not governed by your emotions, but rather you're governed by your faith. The circumstance says that everything is falling apart, so now I'm going to be an emotional wreck. But faith says that, yes, everything is falling apart, but I know the God who's in control of my life. I am in his hands. So based upon that knowledge, I'm going to govern and dictate myself by that understanding. So it's important that when it comes to faith, we need to grow in our knowledge of him, because we're not going to have faith in someone that we don't know. So we need to be praying, and we need to be reading, and need to be seek out the Lord, listening to the preaching. So, we can come to know him. And as we grow in our knowledge in him, our faith would also grow. And so I want to conclude with this. I'd like to encourage everyone here, including myself, that we should take time to examine ourselves and see if these principles are more than something that we have as head knowledge, but rather something that's been engrafted in us. That way, when people dissect our lives, and there will, because we are epistles read of all men, that they will see common factors in us and in Jesus. Thank you all.